Alright, welcome. We got another interesting build for you today, and let's jump right into it. I'm going to switch screens here. This is going to be a little bit interesting because of my camera work. I might struggle with it a little bit because we're going to be using our little bots today. I'm going to switch back to the other view so you can see it a little better right off the bat. This is what we're going to be working with today, and obviously it drives around on the ground, and that's going to be a little bit problematic, but we're going to do the best we can. I think you'll get the idea, and you'll be doing a little bit of solo work. So let's get started on it. First off, I think I ought to give you a little tour of what it is we're looking at. Some of them, let's start off with what we are familiar with already, and that is hiding right here underneath here. I could pull it out. This is our Arduino board, and attached to it is this other board, which we call a shield. So we've got all these pins underneath, and this actually is, the pins are actually coming out. I'm going to squeeze them together a little bit, get a better connection going. So right here is the Arduino board, and we have this new blue board right here that our Arduino is attached to, and this will increase our functionality, allow us to get our little bot to move and do things. But let's take a look at the rest of the bot here. Underneath we have two servos, and they're quite a bit bigger than the ones we've used in the past, and actually a third one up here. These are continuous servos, so they can go around and around and around. This one may not be on the one you're working with. This will allow the front part to turn left and right. For a future project, we might put one of these ultrasonic sensors right up here, and then it'll detect the distance away from something, and then we can program it to the bot to get out of the way of whatever it is we're about ready to run into. But we'll get to all that stuff later. A couple more things. You notice all these batteries down here. When we are working with moving parts, that draws a lot of power. Beforehand, most of our parts did not move. They were just solid state. And here we have a lot of movement. We have to drive this heavy bot around, and so we have to draw on a lot more power, and we're not going to be tethered to the computer anymore because we don't want to have that USB, dragging along the floor with us. So we got to make sure we get some batteries in here, and once those are in, we have a little connector we'll want to use, and that'll go in right here. When I turn everything off, it looks like, here's my first word of caution, I suppose. I've got the batteries in here, I've got it plugged in, and it looks like it's dead in the water. Nothing's being used, but if you look underneath here and peek around, you'll see that the Arduino is actually on. You'll see a little green light on there. So we don't want to, when we're done, we don't want this to be just sitting there with this plugged in, or our batteries will be dead by the next time we use this. So, it doesn't look like it's on. We've got to make sure we pull this out when we're done. So let's make sure we don't forget that. On the top here, let's actually move down to this other view, and I'll sit underneath my other camera. Yeah, I think we can get away with this view for a minute. There's a few things I want to point out, and let's use a pencil for that. Give you a little tour here. Over here we have a reset button. I can push that, and it'll reset my program. It's very useful. Right here I've got a switch. And I can have it on 0, 1, and 2, and off to the side here it tells me, can't see that very well with the glare, but right here it tells me what those settings stand for. And this is very convenient if I want to turn off this new shield I have attached to my Arduino, and I don't want it to power up my wheels anymore. I can leave it on 0 when I upload something. I don't want to be uploading my program and then all suddenly having my bot taken off across my tabletop without me being ready for that to happen. So I can leave this on 0. How do I know it's on 0? Because right over here is 0. And then I can hit my little switch here later on, and then I can power up my servos. I can basically, what's going to happen is I can upload my program, and I can hit reset when I'm ready, and then turn this on, and then my bot will start moving when I'm ready for it to move. When I'm ready for it to start driving around, because I'll need some time to untether my bot from my computer. Okay, what else? We have some pins all along here. They're just like the Arduino pins. I've got my digital pins on this side, some analog ones right here, and some ground and 5 volts right over here on this one. Working our way around, I've also had these pins along this side, and they're all labeled ground and some more analog pins. Up here I got digital pins right here. And what do we got on that side? We got 5 volts, 3.3 volts. Right here, these 2 bundles of wires, these are coming from my 2 servos. I don't know which one's left and right. So one of them's heading to this right here, the other one's heading to this one. And they're just moving through the little hole that's in the center. You can follow those if you'd like. You probably don't need to worry about this. Yeah, a little bit of a focus issue. That's not good. So I can make it focus here. Alright, right here, probably don't need to worry about this, but there's a little jumper. And I can't even get my fingers in there. I'd have to get a little tweezers or something. You can pull this out and it can be moved 1 pin over, and it gives you a choice of 5 volts or 3.3 volts. And you want to make sure this is set on 5 volts. And what else? That's about all we need to be aware of. So basically, the Arduino board pins have been transferred up to this new surface that we can work on. We even have this cool little mini breadboard that we're going to use to do our builds on instead of using the other ones. Instead of this big one here, we're going to use this tiny one. And if I miss something, I'll probably just remind you as I remember. First thing we're going to do is, since we're having a lot of motion occurring, sometimes we get what's called brownouts, and we can be drawing lots of power from our batteries and we don't get enough power. So what often happens is our program will restart. So if we're drawing a lot of power of these wheels, maybe they hit a wall or something, or for whatever reason they're drawing a lot of power, they can we get negative power to the rest of the board, and so we get a brownout and the program will restart. And that's not really a problem, except when we're trying to figure out why our bot's not doing what it's doing, and we don't know if it's actually starting over the program or not. We're watching it, we've made some adjustments to our program, and all of a sudden it does something weird. We're like, why is it doing that? That's strange. That's typically what will happen. So we need a way to know. We need to somehow have the Arduino, the bot, tell us that, hey, I've just restarted the program here, and so I don't want you to be tricked by what you're seeing. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. We'll do an audible signal and a visual signal. We're going to combine both onto here. And let's go ahead and make that build. Let's take an LED, and we're going to add it to our bot and have it just turn on when we hit the setup part of our program. So if my program, let's take a look over here. We always start with the setup, and we throw a few things in here, and then it jumps out of that and just loops over and over and over again. So if our program restarts with a brownout, it's going to head back to setup. And if it ever does that, it's going to jump out of the loop and go back to the setup, or anything above setup. You could have stuff up here. We'd like to know. We'd like to have the light go on for a second. So I can say, look down and say, oh, okay. We got a little problem there. That's why it's doing this. And so let's go ahead and wire up. It's a little awkward because I have a little less space than I normally do. Let's go ahead and put our light, I don't know, it doesn't matter, maybe way over here in the corner. Let's do that. And actually maybe we should put it on this side because we have our ground over here, but we have our digital stuff over here. We're going to be using digital right, high and low for that. And one wire will have to go to ground, the other one has to go way over here. We'll just compromise and go in the middle. Maybe like right there. Okay, so we'll send one wire over to here to ground. And we'll send the other one over here. Let's pick like 7. Hopefully you can see that all right. Got the loop. We're going to send some information out through here, through our LED, and then into our ground. Okay, so let's jump over to our program. Get rid of these lines. Let's see. Let's declare a variable for the pin we're using. This may be useful or it may not be useful, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. LED pin number 7. And let's do pin mode first. Let's let the computer know that this is going to be an output. We're sending something out of pin 7, and it's a little unusual to put this in under setup, but we're doing that because when we jump out of the loop because of brownout, we need to know that we've gone back to setup by having this light turn on. So let's do digital right LED pin, which will be 7, and we want to turn it on. Let's have it stay on for like 1 second, and then we'll turn it back off again. What am I doing? Make that low. Alright, so when this thing starts up, we will turn that LED on, and then we'll just turn it right back off after a second, and then it'll jump out and go to our void loop. So let's give that a try. Let me plug the USB into the bot right here. Looks like I'm upside down. Am I upside down? Nope, I'm not upside down. I've got this on 0. I mean, the wheels shouldn't be doing anything, but just in case, we'll leave it on 0. We'll upload this. Right behind my head, we got the green line going. There it is. Compiling. Alrighty, you can do it. It's almost there. Almost going up my ear there. Just a little slow today. Give the dyno a pinch there. Alright, uploading and done. Alright, I don't know if you noticed the light going on there, but let's hit the reset over here. Just kind of simulated what a brownout would do. We're just going to restart our program. Light goes on for 1 second and it goes out. Now I'm going to add a second redundant brownout indicator by adding a buzzer, because I might not be looking right at this. I would like to hear it do something as well. So I'm going to grab a buzzer here. I've got this one. This one's marked positive and negative. and we're just going to find a nice place, say right here. Looks fine. I need a couple of wires. I need one going to ground. Let's send this one over to ground. Get my big fingers out of the way here. So I sent the negative side over to ground. This side is labeled as ground, half of it. The other one is got to be my signal, and I like to use yellow, but here's a super long yellow one. That's ridiculously long. Let's just go with orange. Orange is what I've got, so that's what we're going to use. And we're going to put that right there. Maybe. There we go. That's the positive side. Little focus issue again. I'm really close to my camera with this bot being elevated. Maybe I should raise it up just a little bit, help it out. Give that a try, see if it makes focusing a little easier for it. So here's my other wire, leaving my buzzer, and let's send this over to 8. 8 looks like it needs a little bit of attention. So we're going from the positive side, marked on my buzzer, all the way over to 8. Alright. Well, it's just going to be a little weird today, and that's fine. Let's go over to our program and add that. Let's also declare another variable for our buzzer. Probably not necessary, but at least I will have on the program here the pin I was using, in case I forget. And let's have the light go on and the buzzer go on at the same time, and they'll both be delayed by the same 1 second. So we're going to sneak in here, we're going to go that use the tone, and we got to put in the buzzer pin, which is 8, and then we have to put in the frequency. Let's do 2000. After a second, this is the light's going to turn off, but we also have to tell that buzzer to buzz off, huh? So we're going to do no tone. Oop, that should change colors, so I need a capital in there probably. And buzzer, the pin number 8. And I should probably do this as well, pin mode, to let the Arduino know that I need the buzzer. I need that buzzer to be an output. We're going to send information out of pin 8 called buzzer. We're going to send it out to our buzzer and have it make a noise. So let's give this part a try. Here's these wires that are poking up. It's trying to focus on the wires. Well, I could do this too. I shouldn't let it bother me, but let's just quickly here off to the side, I am just turning off the autofocus, and I'm going to manually that look pretty good, I guess. Something like that. We'll let go at that. Okay. We'll give that a try. Alright, so we were about ready to test our buzzer and LED light. So let's go ahead and upload that. I've already plugged in the computer. I don't want to save that, but we'll do it anyway. And a little bit of time here to oops, going a little faster this time. That's good. Bam. How about that? You saw the light and the buzzer go on. So whenever down here in our loop we have a brownout, and I'd say there's probably a 25% chance that you will never have a brownout and a 75% chance that you will probably have one. So this is a very useful little addition to our program, and we now know that when we jump out of the loop and we hear that buzzer or see that red light, that we started over, and so we're not going to be tricked by it doing weird things because it's jumping back to the top of the loop. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get these servos working. I'm going to just get you started on this, and then I'm going to give you actually a task to perform that you'll do on your own. So we have to go to library and find servo. There it is. We have to make up some terms that we're going to use we're going to use two servos, one for the left wheel, one for the right wheel. Right now, I'm not even worried which direction it's going to move, so I can call either one left or right. So I'm just going to make one up. I have to say servo and make up some terms. I'm going to use right wheel and make up another term, left wheel. And then in setup, we have to attach the right wheel to the pins that they're hooked up to. So let's do right wheel first. Right wheel, that's the term we made up. And we want to attach it to, okay, over here. Something I left out. But the servo wires terminate right over here, and they have their own pin, and it is 12 and 13. And to be honest with you, I don't know which one is hooked up to which. And it doesn't really matter, other than at this point it doesn't matter whether we're driving this way or whether we're driving this way. It will later when we have maybe something in the front like this with maybe a ultrasonic sensor up here, but for right now we're not going to worry about which side is which. So I'm just going to make this one be, let's make this one be 12. And I could have, we don't want 3 E's in there. That would have been an error. Would have come down here and said, hey, I don't understand I haven't used left wheel yet, but let's go ahead and do that. The left wheel attach. That's going to be pin 13. Alright, that looks pretty good. So I've made up some variables for my servo, and then I've used those to attach to tell the Arduino which pins I'm using for the servo. That's the biggest setup we probably have done in this class. That's pretty cool. I could have declared some variables for pin 12 and 13 like I did with the LED pin and buzzer, but we're going to be lazy. We'll just not worry about that. Okay, now we get to the interesting stuff, which is how do we get these wheels to turn? And let me just throw something in there. It's probably easier just to demonstrate instead of talk about it. Let me just enter in some simple code that allows the bot to go just forward. So what we're going to do is right wheel, and the key part is the next thing here. We're going to do right microseconds, and then we got to put some number in here. This is where it's going to get maybe a little confusing. Let me write the whole thing out first. Let's do like 1600 and do left wheel. I'll try to explain what this means. We'll explain this in class as well. And let's do 1400. Alright, so this will somehow, and the only thing we need to worry about these parameters is 1600 and 1400. Why are you putting those numbers per hour? We'll go over that in just a minute. But this is going to get the right wheel moving, and this is going to get the left wheel moving. And we want it to move for a little while. Let's say like 1 second across my desktop here. And then I want to have these wheels stop moving. So this is the other little function you need to know. We'll do left, let's do in order here. Right wheel detach. Let's do close that and do left wheel detach. This will stop these servos. Alright, so this will get the wheels moving and this will stop them. Now what do these numbers mean? Let me give you a little, see if I can explain this without too much complication. I'm going to do it on this piece of paper right here. We have a little spectrum of possibilities, and it turns out that 1500, 1500, if I put 1500 right into here, so if I made this 1500, theoretically my servo will not, it will not turn on at all. 1500 is the middle of my spectrum here. And you know what, I'm going to forget which way is which with this. Same thing for, let's say this is the left wheel, this is the right wheel. The idea is the same for both. 1500, if I put in 1500 here, then nothing should happen. Now unfortunately that's not going to be true. You'll put in 1500, we could put that in right now, and one wheel will probably slightly move. Maybe I should go ahead and do that as part of this. Let's go ahead and upload this, just this part. I got this on 0. I could demonstrate that part as well. I said nothing will happen. This is 0. Nothing happens. Nothing happens when we're at that value. Wait there a second. Okay, so our light went on. We don't see anything happening. But that's also because I have this thing turned off. So let's go ahead and turn this on. And I'm going to restart it. And one wheel was moving for a minute and then it stopped. I lucked out here. Now normally one wheel is probably would slightly turn just a little bit. You're like, oh no, Mr. Brower, my wheel is slightly going around very slowly. We'd have to make a little adjustment. We might have to make this to be 1510 or something. It's called calibrating. And we'd find that little sweet spot where 0 actually is. Now when I built these, I had to do a little bit of calibration, so I tried to set it as close to 1500 as possible, but I know on some of these it's not going to be exactly on. But this one we're good. So 1500 is actually doing nothing. Alright, now our spectrum, I'm going to have to look this up because I have just forgotten what it is. I think it goes up to 1800 and down to 13. I'm going to write these up. 1800 down to 1300. And I've got a little something over here. If I can find it. Thank you. It is 1300 to 1700. These particular servos. Did I guess right? No, I didn't quite. This is 1300 over here. Read my handwriting. It's not look very good. Let's clean that up. You can do better than that, Mr. Brower. 1300 on this side of our spectrum is 1700. Same thing for this wheel. 1300 to 1700. Now there's one more thing I need to look up with this servo, and for pin 13, I don't know which one is which. Let's say this one is pin 13. I said down here. Nope, I said this was 12. Pin 12 and pin 13. Alright, so let's try to make a long story short, not make this too overly complicated, but some values that I have available to me that I can put into right here in my program stretch from 1300 to 1700. If I want to do nothing, I put in 1500. Now on one side I'll get my wheel to turn clockwise, and on the other side it's counterclockwise, and that's the other part I was having to look up because I can't remember all these things. So for pin 13, if I'm at 1300, we're going to be going counterclockwise. So if I'm at 1300 on pin 13, this will be counterclockwise. And for pin 12, it'll be clockwise. Pin 12 would be clockwise. Okay? So in other words, if I picked any value along here between 15 and 13, my wheel is going to go counterclockwise. If I pick 15 to 13, it's going to go clockwise. And so what's the difference between the size of the number? Well, the size of the number is how fast it's going to be rotating. How fast will my wheel be spinning? So nothing here is really slow and going faster and faster and faster in the counterclockwise. And over here it's going to be clockwise. So if I want my bot to go forward, I don't care if it goes this way or this way, then I've got to, I can't have one wheel going counterclockwise and clockwise, because then I actually will get a rotation going. I like to go forward, so I need one wheel to go, we need to have these go in the opposite. So let's just give this a try, and we'll put that right here in front of the camera so you can see what is going on. Put in 1600 in here, so we'll be slightly over here. My biggest problem now in explaining this is I don't know which pin is going to which. I'll hold it up here. That's still not a good view. Well, how about that? I don't know if this is pin 13 or if this is pin 12. So all we're not really sure about is which direction our bot is going to go. So I'm just going to put in 16 here, and we'll do 14 on this one. So we need a number that's larger and we need a number that's smaller to get our bot to go forward. Let's give it a try, shall we? Let's upload this. I'm going to turn this back to 0. Got some lag again. That's interesting. Compiling, almost done. There's our setup buzzer and light. Nothing is happening because I have this onto the 0. The switch is on 0. I'm going to now move it onto the 2, and I'm going to restart this thing, so I'm ready to go. Although right here on the camera is probably not a good spot because my wall is like 2 more inches just off of the view here, but let's just see if it goes forward or not. Okay, so it headed off that way, right? Let's go and redo that. I'm going to reset this. There it goes. It only went for 1 second. That's what our program said. And then we told it to stop. If I wanted to keep going in a straight line for a little while, I want, of course, the delay to be a little longer. And if I wanted to go the opposite direction, let's go ahead and toy around with this just a little bit. I'm going to leave mine at 1 second because I don't have a whole lot of room. You're more than welcome to put it on the ground and let this thing drive around a little bit. And matter of fact, if you let it drive along the ground, you may notice that it's not exactly going in a straight line. And you may find out that, hey, I think I need to have this at 1420 or something, because one wheel is going slightly faster than the other. You may need to do a little small adjustment. If I wanted to switch and have it go the other way, I want to switch this to that and make that below 15 or 1500 is where nothing is happening for both. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to set this back to, well, let's just leave it like that. As you can see, if I wanted to walk down to the ground and set this on the ground, it'd be nice to have this on 0. And then detach everything, put it on the ground, turn it on, hit reset, and then have it go. So this is a nice little control feature. And off it goes for 1 second. Alright. So that looks pretty good. Let's have it do one more thing. I'll show you, and then I have a little project I'd like you to work on.
Students, if you ride bus
After the announcement.
1417, it will be late. It's running about 10 minutes late. Bus 1417.
Okay, so this is to get to go in a straight line. What if we would like to have it turn like this? Both wheels, there's two types of turns. There's one where this wheel is fixed and the other wheel is turning, so it turns and pivots around the one wheel. And then there's a turn where both wheels are moving and it's the center of motion is right in the center of the bot as opposed to over the wheel. I'm going to show you how to do, well, they're both pretty easy, right? You'd set this one at 1500, have it not move, and then you just have this one move. And we could demonstrate that if you like real quick. So let's go 1500 that one and just leave this one the way it is. And we can get a little turn here. What I'm going to have you do for this project is I want you to, in addition to putting the buzzer on here in the LED, I want you to get this bot to map out, to drive a course that is in the shape of a square. Here we go. Alright, so notice it didn't quite make it. Now I did have a little collision with what's holding up my camera, but we only went about halfway, right? So I have some choices here. I can speed it up to 17. I could speed it up. Let's go ahead and do that. Just waiting for it to compile again. Move it back just a little bit so I don't crash into the wall. Okay, so I might be a little harder to tell, but I did go a little further that time. I didn't quite make a full 90-degree turn yet, so speeding up wasn't the only solution though. I can also increase the delay time, give myself a little more time to complete that turn. I could go up to maybe half a second more. Might be too much. Maybe we need to go to let's do 13. Give this another try. I move it a little bit away from the wall there. I just have a lot of things right over here. It's probably going to affect how well I can turn. If you're doing this on the ground, you'll have the annoyance of having to unplug this and making sure you're plugged in. Make sure you're using the battery. Here we go. Okay, so I was almost there. I did some cords that hit my computer a little bit. So I could probably go the whole second and a half. Whole second and a half will give me a 90-degree turn. Real close to it. We can keep toying around with this. Let's do it one more time. To be really sure, I should like maybe go up a little higher. Like that. Go and upload this one last time. And then we'll show you how we can make another kind of turn. Then you're going to take these two ideas and you're going to attempt to make a little square. You're going to drive your bot driving a little square. Okay. Now you'll say, well, I didn't quite make it, Mr. Brower, but I'm trying to include some of the drag I'm getting from all these cords over here. I think it would have actually made it all the way around. But I think you get the idea as well. So we have a couple of ways of adjusting things to get the desired motion. Alright, so if I wanted to turn, another way I can turn is to have both wheels operating, and let's go ahead and give that a try. Let's just keep the time the same, and let's go with making these both the same on the same side of our spectrum, and let's see what happens with this. Alright, here we go. Move it away from the wall a little bit. Okay, so that didn't quite make it, even with the drag. A little annoying. Let's go ahead and pull this out. Come on, you can do it. And plug in our battery. It's starting all the way up already without me. Guess I'm not on 0. I'm going to flip it back to 0. It's already detached though and stopped, so it's just a little too late. I'm going to put mine just off to the side. I know you can't see it quite as well, but I want to give it a lot of clearance away from all these cords, and we'll do it without anything attached to it. We'll turn this on, hit the reset button. Okay, so we had a lot of drag. I was getting dragged by. I knew I was getting dragged by a lot, but I was not expecting to be dragged that much. It went flying, so maybe we need like a lot less. Let's drop way down. Let's go ahead and upload this again. Anyway, you'll notice it's a little trial and error, getting used to the numbers I need to make a certain action to occur. Now once you know how to make a 90-degree turn with both wheels or one wheel, you can just use those numbers again. You don't have to refigure this out. Oh, we got an error. What happened? Oh, silly me. I pulled that out. Of course I'm going to get an error. That's a trade-off here. I have all these things plugged in. I can upload really fast, but on the other hand, I get all this drag from the cords. Alright, that's about the last thing I wanted to show you though. Doesn't take a whole lot. Mostly just trial and error. You just gotta toy with this on your own. Alright, I'm gonna let it do that. Turn this back off again. Pull this back out. And kind of have it, actually this one should turn really well right where it's at, so I can move it over just a little bit. And just hit the switch, hit the reset button. Ooh, almost perfect. So 600 is almost absolutely perfect. Okay, so what you're going to do, I hope this little diagram made sense here. Once you start messing around with it, it seems more obvious. Just remember that 1500 is in the middle. As I increase it, it goes faster in that direction. And what direction is that? It's probably the only number I always forgetting. It's going up. In this case, it'd be clockwise. Is going down, counterclockwise. But actually, just play with it, toy with it. You almost not even 100% necessary to remember that. I would just let it run, and then you just know what's happening when you put those numbers in. But what I want you to do is have the bot say start right here, some little spot, and then I want it to map out a little square, and then I don't care which way it's pointed, but it'd be kind of cool if it was in the exact same, or close to where it started. How close can you get to be to where it started? So if it was like this, and it drives off and does this little X, can you get to be back the exact same orientation? And how close can you get these corners? How close to 90 degrees can you get them to get back to start? Now, of course, I'm not going to give you a hard time if it's off, but that's your goal for this project. Okay, so give that a try. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, and there'll be another video on this. We're going to be attaching. We won't start off with the UV up here, not UV. And we could actually do an infrared or something in the front of here. That's a possibility. We did the hand cleaning project, the Corona hand washer. We could actually do hook up a UV sensor up here, and as you know, when something gets close, it triggers that. That's one variation. That might be better than strapping one of these on here. But that's not where we're headed towards. We're going to, I have some mechanical switches we'll attach on the next video, and so when the bot bumps into something, our program, that'll cause a switch to trigger from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, and then we can say, write our program, says, hey, if you switch from 1 to a 0, then I want you to do something. I want you to drive backwards and make a 90-degree turn and then head off some other direction. So we'll work on putting some little AI into this thing next time. All right, excellent. I will see you later.